Welcome back, one and all, to Big News Wednesday. Hey everybody, it's Wednesday. I'm John. We got a ton of news, so thank God we've also got Sharon joining us. Sharon Reed, how's it going?
Oh, it's great that you're back. We had fun when you weren't here. Not to say that it wasn't more fun than when you're here, but we made it have fun. I'm glad you're back.
Now you're making me wonder, actually.
Don't you dare. It was fun, but it's, more fun with you.
Well, thank you as always for filling in. By the way, I think I told my team on like Tuesday, I was announcing what was happening and I was like, Sharon's gonna be filling in, Yaz gonna be joining. I was thinking, man, I wish I could join that show. That would be fun.
Oh, I love Yaz. Oh, we had so much fun. We did. We really did. But good,
Nice.
You're back.
I'm here. We've talked about trying to do like a 3-person panel on TDR. I don't know if we've literally ever done it. And there's no good show. Let's do it. Come on. We can look, we've got this like white bar. We could get another white bar. That's got to be in the budget, right? Sure. We could just have 2 little slices anyway.
Middle? Sure.
Yeah, sure. That's perfectly fine too. Now, Sharon doesn't know this, but as people are saying in the chat, for once, I was invited onto a show and they didn't cancel right beforehand. What always happens didn't happen, where one of the people they actually wanted on the show said yes, so they said no to me. No, I actually was on CNN last night. I was on The Story Is with Alex Michelson, who's been on our show. And I was able to do it live in studio, which is fun. I hadn't previously done CNN, in studio. So it was fun. It was a great experience. I think it went well. I was on with another guy who I guess was conservative. He didn't seem like a conservative or whatever, at least in our talk. And we talked a little bit about the economy, a little bit about healthcare, and it was fun. And I hope to do it again.
So anyway, I hope you're on. They should book you weekly. Why not? I think you're great. That's fantastic. I'm going to look up the clips.
I appreciate it.
I'm going to look up the clips. I will.
Thank you. I think I tweeted out 1 or 2 of them. But anyway, and thank you to everybody in the audience that tuned in and you tweeted about it and everything. I really do appreciate that. But with that said, we do have a lot to talk about today on the show. Not only the economy, the affordability scam, the hoax the Democrats are spreading. We're going to talk about that vicious lie that things cost too much. A little bit of more good electoral news for Democrats. They just flipped yet another elected position. That's going to be a lot of fun. We've been hearing rumblings that Kristi Noem could be the first yeeted out of the Trump administration, but who would actually replace her? Now some names are starting to pop up, so that's going to be fun and a whole lot more. We got the body cam footage of Luigi being arrested, some potential reasons that he could potentially get off after all of this. That's fascinating. And coming up in the aftermath, we're gonna be talking a little bit about the environment coming out of my trip to Northern California last year, the reason that Sharon filled in for me. And Donald Trump has found yet another thing that he thinks is treason. And I think we're gonna do it live on the show. So might be one of our last shows, we might be locked up, but I think it's gonna be worth it. Anyway, with all that said, hit the like button, share the stream, send us your comments, your tweets, your super chats. And with all that said, Sharon, are you ready to do this thing?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay, let's do it.
So right now, people are buying their holiday presents. They're planning.
Look, don't be dramatic.
No.
Don't be dramatic.
They're planning their budgets for next year, Mr. President.
I know.
Donald Trump used to have some capacity to message. He's good at deflecting, diversions, coming up with little turns of phrase that 32% of the country thinks is the best thing they've ever heard. We are so far past that, where this, I think her name is Dasha, I believe, the reporter, like brings up that people have a lot of concerns about the economy right now. We know that. We've been through months of polling. I think I've talked about every single one of them here on the show. Harry Enton's, getting in his calisthenics, like talking about how the polls are going down and everything. And so she brings up Christmas, which a lot of people are very worried about. And his message is, don't be dramatic. I mean, like I wondered maybe if when the Epstein file stuff was blowing up and he told all of his concerned fans, if you believe this, you're a traitor, you're a dumb, weak person. I was like, well, that's pretty aggressive to say to your fans. This is what you say to concerned conservatives? who can't afford to buy presents for their kids. Don't be dramatic. And I know that there's a lot of examples like this, but Democrats, please tell me that you're putting this in ads. Please tell me you're gonna have, some horrible economic stat. Don't be dramatic. Wages going down. Don't be dramatic. Please tell me that you're at least going to do that. But this is amidst Donald Trump's attempt to reply a little bit about the affordability issues that he's facing amidst all these polls. It's obviously not starting well. Let's see if he can nail it on the second try.
The one thing you need steel. You can give up certain products. You can give up pencils. That's under the China policy. Every child can get 37 pencils. They only need 1 or 2. They don't need that many. But you always need steel. You don't need $37 for your daughter. 2 or 3 is nice, but you don't need $37. So we're doing things right.
Dear God. This is not now just a one-time thing. Going back the entire year, did you know that in the economy, there are 3 products? Steel, pencils, and dolls. And I know that because that's the only 3 things he ever talks about. And he started off the year before all the bad polling came in, before the tariffs jacked up the price of everything, all that stuff. And he told us that thing of like, you don't need 105 dolls, you could have 1 or whatever, because he doesn't understand, I don't know how moderation works. And that was the best he had. And he did the pencil thing. He did all of this before. And now months and months and months go by, horrible polling. He sees Zoran Mamdani, who runs on affordability. He falls in love with Zoran Mamdani live on TV. We watched him and he's learned nothing. He's still doing the pencil thing. Now look, we're gonna discuss in a sec, but first I just wanna play one more clip, okay? Because his priorities are gonna be very, very clear. Take a look.
A lot of people misinterpret it. They say, oh, he doesn't realize prices are coming down very substantially. But they have a new word, they always have a hoax. The new word is affordability. So they look at the camera and they say, this election is all about affordability. Now, they never talk about it. Thank you very much. They say I'm not allowed to run. I don't know what the hell that's all about, but that's okay. They said 4 more years. You see the new hat? We have 4 more years.
Okay, first of all, quiet pigskin. Second of all, I have seen the hat. The hat cost $50. I don't think affordability is a scam. And I think it's affected his hats now because that's an expensive ass hat. I'm gonna ignore the whole thing about they say I can't run. No, the Constitution says you can't run. Nope, I'm not gonna walk down that path. You're not gonna get me that way, Trumpy. And so Donald Trump is doing this speech in Pennsylvania. His crew have finally gotten him up out of the chair. They've pushed him out the door, and not to play golf for once. And as people are saying in the chat, how many golf courses do you need? Can't you just have one? And they're like, please, Trump, go out there, reassure people you understand the issues with affordability. And immediately he goes off script and says, affordability is a scam. They say prices are, that I don't get it, but I don't get it. The prices are going down. Sharon, I don't think he can do this anymore. I don't think he can, I don't know, like he can't wrangle the issues the way he could. What do you think?
No, there were a few cackles too as he began to talk about affordability. But for the most part, he's not even getting the laughs that he used to get. He's not even commanding the attention that he used to get. He's older, he's slower, he's whatever infusions or whatever they're doing, because his hand is always gray and messed up. So something's going on there, MRIs, whatever. So he can't do it anymore. And the thing about it is, you can't just send him out there. I know he doesn't always follow the scripts, John, but you can't just send him out there and say, dance, 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 just entertain, just do your little thing. It's not working. When people are poor, they can't afford healthcare, food, people are giving away their pets because they can no longer afford to feed them. That's just a fact, okay? It's actually happening. So wow. He's not gonna get the crowd sizes. And when he does, he may even get people infiltrating them. I don't know who was behind him, vetted, I'm sure, carefully, that are gonna call him out. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that little crowd that he managed, there were the cackles, there were obviously the cankles. He has the grayscale. I like cosplay as much as the next guy, but he should get that looked at. Yeah, this isn't good. They laughed. They went to a rally about the economy and the cost of things. And then when he says prices are going down, which they know didn't, that's why the rally's happening, they laugh. I guess he does still have a couple of fans, but I don't think that's enough. I think the polls sort of bear that out. And we know, I'll read one poll. I'm not gonna go through all of them or whatever, but 46% of Americans say the cost of living is the worst they can recall ever in living memory. It's never been worse. 37% of people who voted for Trump last year expressed that same sentiment. And presumably they can remember when Biden was president, but things are worse right now. Only 26% of Americans said Trump was doing a good job in managing the cost of living. I am going to guess that that's the 26% of Americans who are doing the best right now. And so I'm gonna close this by saying, I think a lot of people, especially once he gets elected, you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to listen to this guy talk every day. I can't handle it. But I now think, let him go, let him cook. Nobody is doing more harm to the perception people have of his stewardship of the economy than Donald Trump, because he cannot sell taking responsibility. He can't sell empathy, he can't sell understanding. He can be president if everything is going really well. Like if Barack Obama's been president for 8 years, things are generally okay in the economy, he can coast on that for a little bit, claiming that he's responsible for it, hand over a few $1 trillion to billionaires, and then everything falls apart and you get, sent out of DC, in shame and all that. But when Biden hands you an economy that's already really shaky, the dude just can't handle it. He doesn't have the chops, he doesn't have the charisma, he doesn't have the functioning neurons to handle that situation. But let's jump into other related issues. Republicans are just losing special elections, mayoral elections left and right, largely because the guy who's the figurehead of their party keeps lying about the economy. It's really hurting them. And so here's the greatest example. Throw this in some ads for the midterms, please, Democrats, take a look.
I do want to talk about the economy, sir, here at home, and I wonder what grade you would give
A plus.
A plus.
Yeah, A plus.
I mean, look, I almost want to laugh because is that maybe the most Donald Trump clip you've ever seen? He was never gonna say anything other than A plus. If he was a bit more tapped into gamer culture, he would have said S plus, but he doesn't get that. He doesn't get tier lists, that's fine. A plus, plusity plus and 2 thumbs up, I guess. No room for improvement? I mean, there is still inflation. Like, don't you think that, like, what if the polls weren't so against you? Wouldn't that indicate that you would, in that hypothetical, be doing even better? But again, he can't take responsibility. And so Democrats, just throw up a Trump supporter talking about losing their business. A plus. Talk about somebody losing their home. A plus. As Sharon said earlier in the show, talk about people having to give up their pets because they can't afford pet food. A plus. This guy is doing all of the work necessary to pitch him as the most out of touch president of our lives. Since I guess maybe Reagan, and probably for the same reason, the utter decay of the brain matter. But anyway, look, Dasha, I guess, was not a super friendly reporter, and he still failed. So, you might expect that Fox News is gonna work a little bit better for him. Obviously, they're in the tank for him. But as we've been profiling, even Fox News hosts, even someone like Laura Ingraham, when talking to members of the Trump team, kind of have to admit that things aren't going super smoothly these days.
Job openings and layoffs. I know you've seen the numbers. The BLS numbers, the layoffs reached 1.9 million. That's the highest since 2023. So what is that? Is that AI? Is that migrants leaving the country? Is that automation? And is next year's boom in energy facilities and AI build outs, and is that going to be able to really blunt that effect?
Right. Well, we still have to get like the government data that we lost because of the shutdown. And one of the things we're seeing is that payroll surveys, where they call up firms and say, "Hey, do you have how many people do you have working with you?" That they're showing much lower growth than household surveys, where we ask people, "Do you have a job?" And so it could be that what's going on right now is that there's a problem with the way the surveys work.
I love the idea that data reporting has a problem. He's willing to admit that, Kevin Hassett. But the issue isn't that they fired all the experts of the BLS, that they're refusing to put out any of these reports. It's people aren't being honest, I guess, when we call them up. All of a sudden, we've done it for years and years and years and years, always worked. Always worked, but now for some reason it's no longer indicative of literally anything. Look, I don't know that it's a perfect measure of anything, but is it any more imperfect than it was 6 months ago or a year ago or 3 years ago? If that's the case, he's certainly not making that case. Instead, he's just on TV with that stupid, self-satisfied smirk on his face. Did anyone else notice that? Kevin Hassett, like maybe there's someone, a particular sort of male face that could sell that and not make you want to slap the expression off of it. But Kevin Hassett, he just can't handle it. And so Laura Ingraham that's asking her version of a tough question. She didn't really know what she was saying there. It was kind of all over the place. She was like a little bit critical of the effect of AI on jobs, but then also teed up the possibility that opening data centers was going to help next year. That's not how that's going to go. And look, I don't even know for sure exactly what it is. I don't know if it's the tariffs. I don't know if it's the AI or whatever. But even she can't deny that things are going poorly in this sort of thing. And I think Donald Trump needs to get far better messengers than Kevin Hassett. Sharon, what do you think?
Yeah, but if the message sucks, I don't know what they're really supposed to say. Normally they just lie, but even the lying's become difficult. That's how bad things are. It's not as easy when you're facing Laura on Fox, and even she is curious about some things, to just lie. You get this pushback, and they're probably not even prepared for it because, of course, they're going on Fox News. But things are really difficult. Times are tough, and they may want to cancel appearances for a little while.
It's probably not the worst idea. Yeah, I don't know who could message out of that. I know Trump is really impressed with Carolyn Leavitt. Over the last day, he was talking once again about that face, those lips, they go kapow, pow, 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 like a machine gun. And
well, her sister-in-law is now released from ICE custody, so that's good.
Maybe she could get hired. She could do some of that. But anyway, no, there seems to be some issues there. So this is all a mess. We're going to continue, to diagnose it. Everybody's just trying to learn something about the state of the economy because, of course, the usual reporting methods are no longer going through. So the entire thing is a mess substantively in terms of the messaging, and you kind of love to see it. Okay, we got more news, including some good electoral news after this. Okay, everybody, let's see what's going on out there in the audience. Mr. Kitty says TRT should make spoof political smear ads as YouTube shorts, John. Yeah, no, every time I say it, I think I should do it. It wouldn't even be that hard, but I'm busy and I'm tired. No, but somebody should definitely do it. Like all of these clips would just fit so perfectly into it. Somebody should be doing that work. The Democrat, come on, Gavin Newsom. You love this stuff. That's what you're spending your time on. Make some ads. Anyway, Amatoya says in the members' comments, I don't think he knows what hoax means. Also, we don't say he's not allowed to run. The Constitution says he's not allowed to run 100%. And yeah, no, hoax, it's like every word that he touches, it comes to mean the exact opposite of what it actually means. Fake news is no longer intentionally falsified news to spread misinformation. It's accurate reporting that I would prefer doesn't exist. And a hoax is the political equivalent of fake news. It's when politicians are talking about something and they're right to, but I would prefer that they not do that. Okay, let's see. Salsa the Union says, I think you should have a power panel with Brett and Jorbs so we can have a break from getting to any stories. 1.5 hour Noble Mobile ad. I really have to go back and watch that, Mike. Wait, I'm sure it wasn't 1.5 hours. How long? Oh, did it take a very long time for them to do a Blue Apron thing? Is that what you're saying? Oh, you were saying for the, oh, okay. You know what, actually, I kind of like that. Salt of the Union, if you haven't already gotten a Blue Apron gift card, consider yourself carded, I suppose. You're gonna have to present ID just like everyone does when they shop at grocery stores. So send an email to rewards@tyrtnetwork.com and we'll get you hooked up. I do have to watch that Noble Mobile ad. Anyway, Dragons Don't Know I'm Not Real Bacon says it's plus because that's how much prices are increasing. That was also his score on the cognitive test, A++++++. Anyway, Mega62, member for 20 months, says, America, look at your life, Sharon. Exactly, that would make a good t-shirt, maybe a mug. Borrelia ETC sent 5 memberships on YouTube. Super nice of you, thank you for doing that. Okay. Gargoyle Dragon says, calling someone else dramatic is rich coming from Trump. If he were any more dramatic, he'd constantly be wearing a sundress and having a chaise with him to faint on. One of those fainting couches. Yeah, no, dude, for a dude who's constantly in rooms surrounded by gold furniture, don't call us dramatic when we're concerned about not being able to buy 137 pencils or whatever. But I think that the pencil and the doll thing is actually more elitist and disconnected than the classic, it's a banana, how much could it cost, Michael, $10? Because that's only off by I don't know, $8 or whatever. When he tries to think, what would it be like to be a regular peasant? He thinks, oh, they're always scrounging around trying to find more pencils, right? Isn't that what they do? And they don't understand the value of good steel. God damn, how does any regular person support him? 1977 Flounder, thank you for your super chat. There's no message, but I still appreciate the show of support there. Thank you. Neil says in a super chat, I'm 65, my arms skin more easily. It's an aging thing, no worries easily. He's a POS and needs to be gone, but it cuts off there. No, Neil, I don't disagree that as you get older, your skin can more easily. But it's the exact same patch of skin and it's been marred for months and months. I'm not saying I know what's causing it, but I'm saying something is causing it. It's not like he constantly has hand marks on his throat or something. It's very specific. Okay, everybody, I think we all could use a little bit of good news. And although there was the good special elections and the results in Tennessee were pretty positive, even if the Democrats didn't win, it was super close. Let's get to some more good news. And in fact, let's have a little even more fun with it by having Fox have to deliver the good news for the Dems.
The Democrat, first female mayor to ever win in Miami. Usually it's a Republican. This is the first time in 30 years that a Democrat has won. Crushed. But they really, they poured a lot of money in this. And even the head of the DNC said they were gonna pour a lot of money into it after the Tennessee effect, after the Democrat lost, or the socialist basically lost in Nashville. So they focused on this race.
So
just focused on affordability and making local government work better and faster.
Well, wait, how did focusing on affordability work since it's a scam? Don't talk about it, you guys don't know what you're saying. But anyway, that's the good news. Democrat Eileen Higgins, or as was put by the host, the female, I guess, went on to win over Trump-backed Republican Emilio Gonzalez. Emilio Gonzalez, I say the full name because I'm not sure that Donald Trump knows the first name. He tried to give the guy a boost in the closing days of this important race, and he posted on True Social, Miami's mayor race is Tuesday. It is a big and important race. Vote for Republican Gonzalez. He is fantastic. You can also vote today, make America great again. I think he was always destined to run as a Republican when they named him Republican Gonzalez. But anyway, has he ever done that for a candidate before? He always says the first name. I literally don't think he knows the name. But not only did a Democrat win, but as Brian Kilmeade acknowledged there, it was a shellacking. They won big. And is it Kayleigh McEnany? Is that who's the Ainsley Earhart? Ainsley Earhart. She says she does a little bit of the attempted copium to make the base feel better. One is she's like, that socialist lost in Tennessee. Again, that was closer than you guys thought it would be. So don't get too giddy there, Ainsley. But also, okay, so we got our butt beat first time in 3 decades, Sharon, but they put a lot of money into it. Isn't that unfair of them to spend money on an election? Ainsley, were you expecting that they wouldn't? Why didn't you guys? It's an election. There's money everywhere. You seem weirdly surprised by campaign spending. Sharon, what do you think?
Weirdo. Look, it's even worse than that, okay? Emilio Gonzalez was born in Havana, Cuba. Now, I cut my teeth as a reporter in Miami, okay? He lost to a woman last name Higgins, a Democrat. I mean, this is so bad. And you want to talk about money and the Democrats, as usual. I'm not trying to dump on them because they could be back to being in power soon, we hope. But yeah, they said we're going to double down, but she was already well on her way to winning. It didn't even matter. She didn't even need the money. That's how bad things are. A son of Havana, Cuba, lost the election. That says it all to me.
Poor Republican Gonzalez. I'm never gonna get over that. This is not good for them. I mean, this is now a string. By the way, don't get too excited. Get excited. Get excited plus. Don't get excited plus. Because before 2024, the Democrats had a nice string of special election victories. It doesn't guarantee that you're gonna win everything going forward, but this is now like 3 different sets of elections that while the Democrats haven't won all of them, they have overperformed in all of them. And we're pointing that out. And even at the 5, they're starting to understand the pattern here. Take a look.
If the numbers show the Hispanic vote went heavily for the Democrat, that is a warning sign for next year. If the administration does not win the Hispanic vote, the Texas redistricting will not work because it's all based on the president continuing to get 47 or 46% of the Hispanic vote. If they are misreading the president's aggressive policies on illegal immigration, they love them at the border. They don't necessarily love the aggressive tactics going to Home Depot and or landscape trucks dragging people off. The perception is that they're being grabbed because they're Hispanics. They need to examine that position when it comes to illegal immigration.
Oh no, I hope Greg Abbott didn't make a serious error in doing what Donald Trump told. No, it would be terrible if this actually produces an even larger blue wave. No, say it ain't so, Brian Kilmeade. So look, credit to Brian Kilmeade that he's pointing out that, and by the way, we were talking about the same thing coming out of the first special elections like a month or 2 ago. It's like that extra redistricting was based on some assumptions. Those assumptions might not be true. So I'm like credit to him that he can acknowledge that. But like again, he says if some of these Hispanic voters are misperceiving his policies. No, Brian, they're not misperceiving the policies. They're perceiving the policies. This is what is being done. Stephen Miller explicitly ordered the ICE raids in Home Depot. I remember here in LA, that's what caused the big, back and forth, the big protests, and eventually got us invaded, is because he chose to do that. That's not a misperception. That's just perception. And then he says, if they're getting dragged out of these landscape trucks, and people think it's just because they're Hispanic. No, that's why they're doing it. You guys went to the Supreme Court and said, hey, we would very much like to profile people based on race. Can we do that? And the Supreme Court was like, yes, you can actually. You can totally do that. Race is more than enough. That's totally cool. So Brian Kilmeade, you guys are getting what you wanted in the short term, at least. You're not necessarily getting the elections later on that you wanted. You can't pretend that this is us not understanding. We understand all too well. Sharon?
Everybody hates Trump, okay? Not everybody, but there's more of us who hate him than don't. And hate's a relative term. If you want to clean it up, okay? But I'm gonna use the H word, okay? He's now ticked off the farmers, women, of course, blacks, Latinas. There's not many of us left, okay? So when it comes to the Democrats inching up and getting back control of both houses and the presidency, it seems like right now, unless it's screwed up, a foregone conclusion, like this is just going to happen, okay? And we're gonna see a shift that I hope doesn't then go like a pendulum back and forth, back and forth. It stays like this for decades so we can undo the harm. We have to undo the harm. This Supreme Court, okay, look what they've done. I hope there's someone with a pad somewhere taking notes. I don't know how we get back all of the ground that they've stripped and made us have a king here. I guess Congress could pass some law that then says, you're not a king, despite what they said. We could pack the court, what have you. But this is perilous at this point. This is to the point where I don't know what else we could do to get back the life we had. And to some people, even that life, we had a lot of work to do then.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. What we need is 2 back-to-back 4-year terms. We need 16 years of good, responsible, educated leadership. Not only to reverse all the executive orders, pass some good laws, actually accomplish things, but also utterly clean out the court. I think we should do what Donald Trump suggested, the 21 justices or whatever. But even if we don't do that, we at the very least need our own supermajority. Yeah. And by the way, we didn't do a story on it, but Donald Trump, apparently he's begun to talk about the possibility of 1 or more retirements coming up soon on the Supreme Court. These would be the Republicans, but even so, replacing them with, I don't know, Katie Miller or whatever would, it would crystallize their control for more time. So we got to take control. We got to make sure that insane people don't go on there until we're the ones choosing them. Okay,
John, can I just ask you, and I apologize, that was not in the rundown, this thing that Trump was talking about, retiring.
No.
I'm gonna ask you, I am so upset now. I'm gonna ask you if it's not in the rundown, if you could please don't go to that. Because I am just beside myself and I don't know if I can take it. I don't know if I can take that.
It's the thing that's been like lurking in the back of my mind. It's like as we get hit by all of this stuff. And by the way, I share with you, I hope somebody is keeping a list. Like not even just for the big things, like the little things. Like we're gonna talk later on the show. The EPA websites, nowhere is there anymore a mention of human caused climate change. It's like, okay, so we gotta get somebody in and fix that. We gotta
CDC.
Put the white supremacy terrorism studies back on. Okay, we need to take Donald Trump's birthday off the free national park list and put MLK Day back on. It's like, I hope somebody is tracking all of this stuff because it's a ridiculous and should be unnecessary to-do list, but it needs to be done. But with that said, let's at least talk about, I don't know, Kristi Noem maybe losing a job. That'll be something. Let's take a look.
She's what this ad is all about, right? Look at her on a cowboy, in a cowboy hat or whatever. It's fine, I guess. If she wasn't in the president's cabinet, what was she doing on that horse this time? She's rounding cattle or something like that. Give me a break. I mean, she's got other responsibilities other than, look at me, aren't I fabulous? Aren't I kind of hot on this horse? I think that's part of it. I do, sorry. I don't know. This is about her, not about us, and not about protecting America, I fear.
So look, was that weird in a lot of ways, Greg Kelly? Yeah, it was super weird. At points, it seemed like he was doing an impersonation of James Austin Johnson, doing an impersonation of Donald Trump. And don't use the word hot, dude. Oh God, it makes me so uncomfortable. But it is interesting to see a hard right MAGA newsman talking about that ad in the same way that we have been for months, for them to start to realize, oh, she's not actually a serious person. This is just kind of like a bucket list thing for her. I mean, like most charitable interpretation is she's producing content that she thinks will help her when she runs for president. But honestly, it just feels like an extended year-long Make-A-Wish thing for Kristi Noem. And we are freed up intellectually to point out how ridiculous that is. Generally, the right can't, but they're starting to see it. And it might actually have some consequences because now Trump aides and allies are starting to float potential Noem successors as speculation grows over the apparently impending end of her tenure. And we're gonna get to some of the names that have popped up, but let's just have a little bit more of the criticism of Noem coming from Greg Kelly.
I don't know, I think being in the government is more than an ego trip. That's Kristi Noem, the Department of Homeland Security secretary, on a horse in South Dakota on a work day. Every day is a work day when you're the DHS secretary. We got a lot of things going on. But this is a commercial that I presume was paid for by our tax dollars. I saw it on television a couple of times. Is it worthwhile? Is it necessary? Is it even desirable? She's a great person, I'm sure. But less time on the horse and more time at the office with the files, okay? We know you look great, but I think there are more important things to do.
I agree with much of what he said there. I disagree with just assuming that she's a good person. Why would we assume that? She's doing the DHS stuff. She seems horrible and racist in that way. What else do we know about her? I don't know, she capped that dog once. I don't give her a lot of credit for that. So overall, no, I'm not inclined to believe that she's a good person. She's a horribly corrupt person. She's a self-serving person. She's utterly incompetent, ill-equipped for her position, but in her defense also was ill-equipped for the previous positions that she held. How could she not expect to keep getting bigger jobs when they just keep handing them to her? So anyway, it's not good for Kristi Noem when you get to the point where Greg Kelly, someone like him, feels like, oh, I think it's safe to start attacking her now. And that is what this represents to me. I don't particularly care about him. I care about what it signals, what he is reading in MAGA about Kristi Noem. And so if she does go, who might be replacing her? Well, some of the names that have been popping up, you have Fox News contributor, of course it has to be a media person, and former Utah Representative Jason Chaffetz. You also have Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, whose term ends in January, so he would be freed up to do the job along sort of the timeline that we've been hearing that Noem might be going. And so they could potentially be the replacements, Sharon. I don't know if you have thoughts about either of them or whether you think this is happening at all, but it is interesting to see the criticism start to pop up on the right.
Yeah, somebody's out of a job. I think Youngkin probably is driving it more than anything. He visited with the president at the White House, so he's floating his name out there. I don't really care. I hope she loses her job and everything, and I'd be just fine with that. But it's curious to me that all of the disasters going on in there, including the guy who keeps blowing the fishing boats and the shrimpers out of the water in the Caribbean, is still there and sitting next to President Trump. He's still there, and yet the woman and her glam team are gonna be the one that has to go, okay? It's crazy. This guy, Hegseth, he divulged the secrets. He had his wife and probably his nanny on this stuff too, Snapchat or whatever he was doing, Signal. And yet she's the one that has to go. Now again, I'm all for it. You listed every way that she's a terrible person, okay? The deportations, going to the prison, wearing that little stupid belt or ammo on her, all of that. I'm not gonna lie to you. I prayed that the guy who swiped her purse got off. If I was on the jury, it'd be jury nullification. That's how much she is disgusting. And I'm not saying it's okay to go swiping people's stuff, but if you're gonna swipe someone's stuff, it's her. I think Youngkin's gonna get the job soon, or whoever is the last in the room with Trump.
Yeah. I think you could swipe her stuff. I'd probably say Nancy Mace, maybe even more at this point. There's a lot of purses that need to be stolen. But anyway, yeah. Look, we don't know for sure this is gonna happen. The spokespeople are putting out statements like, she's the best there's ever been and Trump loves her, which they will say up until 1 second before they throw her ass out of the White House. And so you can't trust anything they're saying. We know that all of this is based around her running in 2028. I don't see her doing well. Maybe I'll end up being wrong. For now, though, I would just say I hope that she's enjoying herself. Again, she seems to be having a great time flying around and dressing up in costumes. Again, living out her bucket list, living out her Make-A-Wish thing. But like, I love Make-A-Wish. It's for specific people. It's not for everybody. You don't just get. I don't get a Make-A-Wish. I mean, if I did, I know what it would be. It would be a one-on-one meeting between Kristi Noem and Donald Trump. Donald Trump's dressed up in a dog costume, but we don't get it. You just don't get it, okay? It's for a special class of people who are much more deserving. But in any event, we've got more news coming. We're gonna take a short break. Don't go anywhere. Okay, everybody, let's see what's going on out there. Rosebud, member for 8 months, says $$ equals pardons. Totally, it is. There's so many things that we need to be tracking and we need to be talking about, really. But like the pardons he's been doing, so he pardoned the Honduras president. They asked him about it. He's just like, yeah, no, I don't really know anything about it. I don't know. They're just mean to him, you know? No, like he personally did it. It's absolutely insane that he can just do that and nobody really seems to care. Just one con man and criminal, drug dealer, violent criminal, insurrectionist after another. Absolutely ridiculous. Okay. Carol reminds me that was Mrs. Sean Hannity we were criticizing there. And to that, let me just say, but anyway, Arky says he needs to change his name to Republican Gonzalez. That would stand out. If I was Democrat Iadarola, maybe they'd put me up for a position, you know, maybe. Anyway. A Grouchy Dragon sent 5 memberships. Super nice of you. Thank you for doing that. Okay. Bo3670 says in a super chat, nice job on Alex's show. Short segment, but nice job repping the left fairly non-controversially. Though hinting at a 2028 push on healthcare probably has think tanks working overtime on crushing it. LOL. Thank you. That was sort of my goal. I had a little talk with Emma Vigeland, who does a lot of MSNBC, and I think it's important to have people that can push for big, like, progressive leftist policies and candidates, but make it not scary, make it impossible for you to be like, oh, it's crazy communist or whatever, which they want to do. They want us to seem insane and out of the mainstream, but I don't think that a lot of us are. And so that's sort of my goal. It's kind of like, it's almost sleeper cell-ish is what I'm hoping for. We'll see if they bring me back though. In any event, okay, we have a little bit of time. Justin of the Dragon member for 18 months says, Sharon got some sass spewing today and I'm all for it. Sharon always has some sass.
I don't know why. I was off caffeine for a little while, but I just had some because I had vertigo. And so I was trying to eliminate things because it was really driving me insane. But it's good to have you back. I hope the Secret Service doesn't visit us. That one little comment you made about
what are you talking
Kristi
about?
Noem and him dressed as a dog. And, you know what I mean?
No. Oh, I see what you mean.
And I don't even want to bring it back up. Why did I do that?
She likes cosplay, so he'd be dressing up like a dog, you know, one of my favorite animals. That's the only reason that I said that.
Well, then you're in the clear.
But anyway, by the way, we're so similar. I've been dealing with like vertigo and like some like nausea and stuff. And I too start like removing things to see, okay, so is it that I had too much caffeine? Is it that I had not enough caffeine? Is it that I have allergies? Is it just a sinus infection? Like you start going through all the things that am I not drinking enough water? Did I stand up too fast? Like
I did that.
I hate it.
Yeah. Are you better now? I hope you're better.
I have a little bit right now. This is mainly
oh my goodness.
When I drove up to go to the forest, I got like the worst case of car sickness in my life. So it lasted like a day and a half.
Oh my goodness.
So anyway, that's what made me think of it. Yeah, it's not fun.
Dramamine or the equivalent.
Yeah, but that can also cause weird symptoms.
Yeah, I don't want to stay on it. You're not supposed to stay on it.
I know. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. Okay, let's see. Lizzie Bennett says that one in a super chat with that one-on-one interview wish with Noem and Trump, LMAO. I'm just a cosplay and dog enthusiast. That's literally all. Just in case Dan Bongino's watching. Rolsan says maybe Carrie Lake will make a comeback in Noem's exit. Oh, she already has a really important position, everybody. Remember, Voice of America, which she is qualified for and takes very seriously. Okay, everybody, before jumping into more news, and we do have some fun stuff, I do want to remind you about a partnership that TYT has been doing with Noble Mobile, the only wireless plan that pays you to use your phone less. Specifically, if you use less than a certain threshold of data by the end of the month, it actually gets credited back to you as cash back, which is awesome. You get the time, you don't use data that you probably shouldn't be consuming for the purposes of your mind and your wellness anyway, and you make a little bit more money there. And over the course of a year, you accrue all that, and people say they save on average $500 to $1,000 a year on their phone bill. So time, a little bit of peace of mind, and also a bit of money sounds pretty good. If you'd like more information about this, you can try it out. You can go to tyt.com/switch, which supports TYT and our mission of delivering true independent media. You can also scan that QR code if you want to get there just a little bit faster. Now, with all that said, why don't we jump back into the news with something a little bit dramatic. Luigi, you've probably heard of him. He's the guy who allegedly shot and killed United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. He is now on trial. A lot of us have been wondering, when is this thing gonna get going? But new details are starting to actually trickle out. First of all, we have the body camera footage of the actual arrest. In this video, you're gonna see police confronting him at a McDonald's.
Yes, sir. There you go. Here, put your mask down real quick for me. Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay. What's your name? Mark. What is it? Mark. Mark? Yes, sir. Mark what? Rosario. Rosario? Someone called, they thought you were suspicious. Oh, okay. Do you have your ID on you? Yes, sir. Thanks. I thought she looked like someone, guilty to, they want to run the
So you see them confronting him. They ask who he is. He says Mark. They run his ID and they realized that he was lying. And it reminds me of the classic Jim Gaffigan bit about lying to cover up a murder and how you're technically allowed to because nobody ever just gets mad about the lie, really. But anyway, they eventually, of course, arrest him. Prior to the arrest, he said something to the cop that stood out. Officer Stephen Fox said, he told me he had a jar of peanut butter in his coat pocket. He told me he had a knife in his right pants pocket. And so they search him. And this is a really important part of the case that might, I don't know, entirely derail the thing because it's now being alleged that the way they went about this wasn't the way they were supposed to, and some of this evidence might not be admissible in front of the actual jury. So they search him. Authorities claim that when police returned to the station, they discovered a handgun, a silencer, and a notebook allegedly containing a manifesto expressing a desire to whack a health insurance CEO. Somewhat inconclusive, that could mean a lot of different things. Now, obviously, that's pretty bad evidence and would be, I assume, very persuasive to a jury. But if they didn't actually get the warrant, if they didn't read him his rights, if some of this stuff can't be shown to the jury, then that could really hurt their case. You can see a photo, by the way, of the stuff that they took from him. He had quite a bit there at the time. You can see a photo of the gun as well. Photo of what looks like a whole bunch of bills laid out, and then the actual note right there. You can have things like check reports for current situation, breaking continuity, sort of the plan and a little map. And I haven't seen anything that implies that this is anything other than the actual stuff that they found on him. Like, I haven't seen any statement from him that it isn't authentic, but like, it also kind of feels like if you were to like put together what's the perfect kit to prove that this person did it. There's a map on a piece of paper and like basically just an I did it like confession almost. Again, I'm not saying it's not authentic. Evidently it is. But yeah, my producer is like pointing out it's a little bit like the bullets they kept finding next to shooters that are like, I did it. And also I'm super woke or whatever. It's like, it's almost too much. And I'm not saying that it's too much for me, but it could end up being too much for the jury. I don't know. What do you think, Sharon?
I think you hit the nail on the head here. Okay, I understand that you're not conclusively saying this is fake, but look at the climate we're in, right? Remember how this started, and this is no indication of agreement to shooting a man in the back in cold blood, shooting him like a dog in the street. Having said that, there are tons of people who hate the healthcare system and believe it is murdering their loved ones. They actually believe that because look at the decisions that are being made and people are dying as a result. Then you have this weird fascination with this guy and his perfect eyebrows and his good looks. And the fact that he's super brilliant. Look how he graduated the top of his class and everybody talked about him. He's from this rich family, on and on and on. And you're gonna have a jury pool that's gonna have perhaps a lot of people who represent the way you laid it out. This is a little too perfect here. You would think of every case that's out there, you would dot your I's and cross your T's on this one.
Yeah.
I think there's a good chance that he has superb attorneys representing him, money behind him. We mentioned the climate. He could get off.
Yeah. And again, all of this is allegations. I would say with all of this, it seems like he might have done it, maybe, I don't know. But also, and I see people saying this in the chat, he kept all of this stuff on him. Like, even if you believe that he had it at one point, the map and the PowerPoint presentation of how he did it, he kept it like out of nostalgia or something, like he wanted a memento. And that's possible. Sometimes, people who commit crimes do stuff like that. It just like, I think back to the shooters from a couple months ago, like they got in trouble because they disposed of stuff, but not in a way that actually distanced themselves enough. Like they still got caught, but they tried to get rid of it. He kept like a perfect, like, I don't know, like it's like he could do like a video on YouTube of like, watch me get ready and what I'm carrying, and it's everything a shooter needs. I don't know. It seems a little bit strange. That's all I'm saying. We'll see as more information comes out, assuming this thing, goes forward in the way we expect. Okay, with that said, I think we can jump ahead in a second to one more story. I'm gonna read a couple of comments before we do that. ZZZ Dirty Boxers has been here for 48 months. Congrats on 4 years. I think after 4 years, you can clean those things. You throw them in the wash, I think, but thank you for being here. Socrates Bartender has been here for 41 months. Thank you. Ukami for 63. Thank you so much. Pagan Dragon has been on a 3-stream streak, says, love you, John. You keep me sane in all this chaos. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Century 22 has been here for 20 months, says, in the desert, you can't remember your name because there ain't no one for to give you no name. I don't remember what song that's from, but I do get that that's a music reference. And thus, how dare you reference music on our show? But anyway, okay. Let's see. Okay, let's jump into our final story, starting with this.
And to the people who are standing outside my home and writing chalk and trying to intimidate and scare us and make my children stay in our house, I say no more. I say my children and I will live free, and you will not get to do so. I think not only this is terroristic threats, I think this is doxing.
She seems nice. Anyway, that's Katie Miller, a woman who has chosen to spend personal time with Stephen Miller, which says just so very much all at once. And she's talking about something that seems pretty serious. You might have remembered this story going around. People were apparently terroristically threatening her, and all of a sudden she and Stephen Miller are not two of the greatest villains of our time, out and out unrepentant racists and stuff. No. Actually, they're the victims. Back off of all your criticism. Give them a pass on the horrible way they're breaking up families, ruining lives, and leading to people being sexually assaulted in prisons internationally, being murdered abroad. Don't think about that stuff. They're the victims because chalk. But were they? I mean, she made a big deal out of it there on Fox News in her well-scripted but poorly delivered remarks right there. But is that actually what was going on? Because interestingly, while she posted stuff like this saying, good morning to the people who drew this at my kids' park, which by the way, if you wanted to stop people from doing that, giving them shout outs on social media seems like a poor way to do that. I feel like that would lead to copycats, but okay, maybe she's scared and not thinking things through or whatever. But the official write-up of the complaint had the reporting officer saying the messages were non-threatening and alluded to political issues such as immigration, transgender rights, DEI, and white supremacy, all things that very much cluster around Stephen and Katie Miller. And so it's interesting that some people, according to Katie Miller, get the ability to express their opinions, including their political opinions. If she has anything she wants to say, she can rush to Fox News. She can get booked at a moment's notice. She can start up a podcast and everybody's supposed to take it seriously, even though literally, why does she have a podcast? But she has one and she can say anything she wants. She can meet with Donald Trump. She could be in the White House. But if you're in the area that she lives in and you want to write a chalk message, you don't get to, okay? You don't get to talk about the trans community, immigration, DEI, the threat of white supremacy. You don't get to do that because if you do that anywhere near her, she can performatively freak out about it, even though the cop says they were non-threatening messages. And then she'll live free, but you don't, implying that people should be locked up. And by the way, I'm just gonna remind everyone, Katie Miller loves throwing around threats to deprive people of their freedom. Remember, she had a debate on Piers Morgan with Cenk Uygur, and she threatened to have him deported because she was losing the debate so terribly. That's who she actually is. Sharon, what do you think?
Guarantee you that whether she's at Trader Joe's or the gym, maybe even Lululemon, anybody who ticks her off, she is texting and immediately calling her egghead husband. Do something about this one. Here's a picture. I got the first name, figure out the last name, and let's get him out of here. Thing about her is she goes through life walking around and she's so aggrieved by everyone. She's so offended and such a victim, but she's really the one in hot pursuit. The fact is she likes this. She actually would have no identity, no life if people weren't quote unquote targeting her. And I don't doubt that people are coming after her because she's vile. She's vile in the things she says and does, but I'm not even sure it's to the degree that she claims it is. She wants to be famous and infamous so bad. I don't know that all these people are coming after her. Some, sure, but to the degree that she says, I don't know about that.
Yeah, 100%. In the same way that Stephen Miller, his whole life just desperately wanted to have enough power to strike back against anyone who isn't white that bothered him, that he was jealous of, whatever. She just desperately wants to have some kind of influence so she can strike out at people. Her name might be Katie, but she has more Karen energy than I think anybody I've ever seen of her age. Okay, very quickly, one more topic to close out the hour. This is an important one. It turns out that the Epstein files weren't the only documents littered with Donald Trump's names that he desperately wants to stop from seeing the light of day. Apparently, he has used, or invoked, I should say, his executive privilege to avoid what we have to assume, because of what he's doing, would be incredibly damaging and damning January 6 documents from seeing the light of day. There's this court filing from earlier this week. Lawyers for the DOJ revealed that Trump has stepped in to prevent the release of some material requested as part of a lawsuit brought by police officers injured by violent rioters at the US Capitol. The materials were originally subpoenaed from the National Archives and Records Administration in February. Specifically, he is blocking 4,152 documents from being released, which that feels like a lot. That's more boxes of documents than you could fit in a Mar-a-Lago bathroom, and he wants to stop them all from coming out. And as the New Republic points out, with this action, Trump is directly blocking a case alleging that he helped to fuel the riot. In a 2022 ruling, a district court judge who's overseeing the case found that there were indications Trump may have been aware that some of his supporters were armed and had discouraged security checks. And so this is him getting in to potentially directly protect himself from legal ramifications of what he chose to do and what he chose then not to do on January 6th. This is a wildly corrupt act. Your executive orders, your executive privileges are not designed to individually benefit you. And even if it wasn't, even if this had nothing to do with him, this is about the cops that were beaten, the cops that were killed by those violent insurrectionists. And evidently there's some people that think we could learn something from these documents. Maybe we can get to justice for these people, these cops who died protecting our government from these violent rebels, these outlaws. And Donald Trump is standing once again with the insurrectionists, which is a little bit strange when you think about it, because he and many right-wingers have been saying for years, January 6th isn't what you think it was. It wasn't me sending them out. I mean, I know that I've spent years saying that I love them and they're patriots afterward, but for a brief moment, after I sent them there and before I began to love them again, they weren't my people at all. In fact, they were FBI plants. They were deep state provocateurs. Well, if there was something crazy like that going on, shouldn't we have as much transparency as possible? Maybe we can get to the bottom of this thing. Maybe we can understand one of the most insane paradoxes of modern American politics, best exemplified in this a tweet that was shared by Benny Johnson, Graphic 5, where Benny Johnson thought Donald Trump made a good point when he said that the Biden FBI placed nearly 300 agents into the crowd on January 6th, which would be quite a feat considering that Biden hadn't become president yet and wouldn't for several weeks. But Benny Johnson is so stupid, he doesn't even realize that. And yet they don't want transparency, Sharon. What do you think?
Yeah, I would think they would want to just have everybody who's associated with this be able to tell their stories because it's been suppressed. By the way, you didn't mention Antifa, who was also prominent that day and defecating and using bear spray on people, not. So yeah, this is just what this guy does. I would think he would want members of the J6 crowd to say, hey, we're not with the guy who planted the bomb the night before outside the RNC and DNC setup in Washington. We're not with him. We were there for righteous causes, except they weren't. So he has to block all of this. And before that it was, let me erase all mentions of this because it just didn't happen, but it happened. We watched it live.
Yep, 100%. And again, it's just absolutely insane that he can do this and get away with it, using the power of the government to once again protect himself. Well, that's all the time we have for the first hour of the show. Lots more to come in the aftermath though, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Aftermath. One and all, John and Sharon here. We got more news coming. We've got comments coming in. We're gonna see what's going on in Twitch. We've got a lot of members' comments actually. Cabbage says, wait, I thought race wasn't a consideration in redistricting. It depends if it's being used to attack California, I guess. I don't know. The messaging coming out of the DOJ is very mixed up. Let's see. This is the Salt Union one we gave the Bourbon gift card for. That's awesome. Okay, We're gonna get into more news, but first, don't forget about our sponsor, Noble Mobile. You can save money by using your phone less and get unlimited data for just $50 a month. You can go to tyt.com/switch for more information. But now, something I've been very excited for and I've been waiting to get to throughout this week. If you care about the environment, the news this year has not been fun in literally any way. Frequently, you wake up, you get random headlines like this. Trump EPA has removed all mention of human-caused climate crisis from public web pages. They just don't acknowledge it in the EPA literally at all. As anti-science as anything RFK Jr. is doing over at HHS. Or this, that Trump's anti-climate agenda could result in 1.3 million more deaths globally. That's horrifying. And that's just on the climate generally, by the way. When it comes to pollution or renewable energy, electric cars, basically anything you can think of, it has been really rough. And I'm not gonna gaslight you about this topic. Federally, it's not gonna get any better for at least a couple of years. And even then, hope we get a good Democrat in 2028. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that we are wholly screwed when it comes to the environment. And it certainly doesn't mean that there isn't good work being done right now by a lot of individuals and organizations. And it doesn't mean that you can't potentially get involved at the local or state level and make a real and meaningful difference when it comes to the environment. And so this is something I've been very excited to talk about. Last week, I had the chance to go up to the far northern region of California with the Redwood Forest Foundation, and they invited me and a number of other individuals representing organizations, activist groups, tech, and all that to see firsthand how they are restoring and attempting to sustainably manage a 50,000 acre redwood forest. It was absolutely massive, stretching for mountains and mountains. Well, I did have mountains and mountains, but miles and miles along the coast. And what I loved about it was this wasn't abstract. This was on the ground work being done by real individuals who have a passion and love for the environment and want to see this very unique aspect of it that we have here in California managed in a better way than it has historically been. This entire region was logged, it was mistreated, invasive and parasitic species, both animals and plants were allowed to come in. It was exploited, that's all it was, but it doesn't have to stay that way. And so they're trying to do it in a very different way. We're gonna put up some images that I and others took on the trip, just so you can see sort of what it looked like, just for scale. I mean, these trees are absolutely massive. This is in an old growth area. A lot of their territory is not old growth because it was logged almost out of existence. These are younger trees, but maybe someday they can be this big behemoths. And some of them are, we'll get to those pictures too. But we spent a day touring the forest and getting briefings from a lot of different people on their team. They have a team of, I think, a little bit less than 25 individuals. They have biologists, they have an awesome forest manager who was actually a fan of the show, which that was exciting. They have technicians. We talked to their CEO about all of their plans and the different partnerships they're hoping to do. And it was people representing a lot of different roles. But they come together, and managing this sort of territory, especially one as big as this, as important as this, it's inherently multidisciplinary. You have to have people who understand the business side, people who understand, the plants, people who have a history dealing with the particular, wildlife that lives in that region, and also people trying to be very creative with using technology to manage this massive territory with a staff of just a couple of dozen people, and we'll get to that. But because redwoods don't grow in, basically anywhere else in the world, and you might not know why this would be important. Isn't it just another forest? And I guess, on some level, every forest is significant. But these redwoods, they have an absolutely massive outsized potential carbon storage advantage. They can take a lot of carbon out of the environment, especially when it's 50,000 acres of it. The region has, or at least should have, incredible biodiversity that they're trying to get us back to. And in terms of resilience, both climate, wildfire resilience here in California, they are very important. They're very resistant to fires. They can burn but not actually die. And so you have to protect them. You have to restore them. And when you do that, you actually helped to protect and restore the climate from multiple different angles at the same time. And so I got to see the work that a lot of different people were doing. There are people who are, taking tours through, they're patrolling the territory because it takes, one individual, it takes multiple days just to, even at a relatively fast speed, ride around all this territory. You have people who are deploying remote sensors to track the movement of species to try to see how certain species like the snowy owl are hopefully coming back over time. And they in particular, they faced a lot of predation from the barred owls that have come in. They're not supposed to be in this region, but through the westward expansion of the United States, they were brought into this region. Now they are hunting down and killing these other owls. They're trying to figure out a way to protect them. They're going around and they're trying to renew some of the disconnected minor water, like the streams and small rivers, so that eventually we can get back to the point where salmon can do their historic traditional route all the way from the ocean, all the way up through this. All of this is possible, and they've been making great strides in the years that they have been managing this territory. And one thing I wanted to mention has to do with AI. So obviously I have been very critical of AI in a lot of different fields because it often feels like it's pushing out human creativity, it's pushing out human jobs. But I was able to talk to a couple of people who found a few ways to use it in this environment to, I think, do work that humans just couldn't do. So effectively, they want to place these sensors over this massive territory. You just can't cover it with manpower. You would need hundreds, maybe thousands of people on staff, which they can't have. And you want to have it listening. For instance, if it hears one type of bird versus another, that sort of thing. But you can't have people listen to that. It would just be thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of forest sounds. But they have AI algorithms that can do that. And so this is one implementation of AI that even I, at least now, am comfortable with because I don't think it's replacing human creativity. I think it's an example of human creativity, and I don't think it's losing anyone any jobs. And so it's great to see this technology that I generally am pretty hesitant to see move into new areas doing something good, particularly for the environment, especially considering all of the negative environmental ramifications of AI, the data centers, and all that. And so it was just great to see all of this different work being done by just a staff of like literally 24 people. And so that was awesome. And I left the trip a little bit carsick, but also filled with like a renewed hope. Not necessarily about what the United States government can do in terms of the environment, because they're doing the stuff they're doing, but what regular people and organizations can do if they care enough, and especially at a local level. And so I want to thank the Redwood Forest Foundation for bringing me out there. I also want to do a shout out to the Inn at Newport Ranch. That's where we stayed. It's in Fort Bragg, California. It's not too far away from the Redwood Forest, and it was a beautiful place to stay. So I really appreciate that too. And it was also, by the way, great to get an opportunity to meet up with all of these other people representing great climate-focused organizations. So that includes Climate Congress, which backs local candidates to hopefully get to them before big money has turned them against, climate advocacy for renewable energy, all of that. And they've had a lot of success in supporting very local level candidates. Rewild was there. That's the Leonardo DiCaprio affiliated environmental organization. They had a couple of representatives. So that was awesome too. And just being able to build connections with these people who all care about the environment and in their own way are trying to do something positive is great. And it's a reminder that, you may not have like a redwood forest in your backyard. You almost certainly don't. But I bet you have organizations like this, Maybe they're trying to fix a local forest, Maybe they're trying to protect one species. Maybe they're trying to clean up a river or a lake or something. Maybe they're trying to reclaim, vacant and dormant urban spaces and set up, urban, gardens and those sorts of things. These sorts of organizations continue to work and arguably need your help even more than they did before Donald Trump became president once again. So anyway, it was a great experience and I want to thank them. And Sharon, unfortunately, I didn't get to take you, but if you get a chance, go see the Redwoods. I don't know if you have before.
No, I haven't. I would love to. And just listening to you talk about it, I can tell how excited. I mean, this is your lane. You're a believer. I am too. But I mean, you take it to another level perhaps. But as I was listening to you and the people who actually care about this stuff, I started thinking like, wouldn't it be great? And I'm not saying that they don't have school kids who go and look at these beautiful trees and learn about this. But wouldn't it be great if it was like mandatory that kids, teenagers, whoever, went on these retreats, and not just once, but like you maybe would feel ownership, you'll adopt your tree or whatever it is, and make the relationship between the life that we live and enjoy to what these beautiful trees provide for all of us. We've got to fix a lot of stuff we screwed up. And so just to hear you talk about connecting with nature in that way, that's what it reminded me of. I'd love to go see that with my daughter and maybe feel that personal responsibility about, how am I conducting my life on a day-to-day basis, and how does that affect the environment? Because I live in Atlanta, where we're supposed to be this city of trees and everybody cares about trees, and there's this ordinance and you have to do recompense and all this stuff if you cut down a tree, and you're not really allowed to until a developer comes in and starts lobbying people, and then suddenly, well, it just changes. I looked and I said, my neighbors are all upset because the tree ordinance suddenly there's these carve outs, and that's not really helpful. So I love that you got to go on this. I'm kind of jealous, but I can always take a trip with my daughter.
I think that would be great. And I think some schools do have sort of like nature trips and stuff. I had something like that in elementary school, but like, especially now when it's all our time on our phone and the algorithm and all that. I barely touched my phone in the trip there, partially because of car sickness, but it's a great experience. And I think every kid should get that opportunity. Okay,
was the air cleaner?
Yeah, the air was actually great. That was one of the things that helped me bounce back from the nausea the next day, was just being in nature and smelling the air. And it was a little bit cold, which was nice. I really liked it.
Wow.
Okay, I'm sure I'll have more to say about the trip, but we do have a little bit of other news, and I want to turn from that, which was a very serious and I think responsible segment, to mostly just mocking Donald Trump's body. So let's turn now to this. Donald Trump is definitely totally not angry at all about the fact that people are talking about how he can't stay awake through a meeting and his body is rapidly decaying. That's probably why he is now taken to calling it treason to point out that he's in bad shape. Here's what he posted on Truth Social, and ain't nobody got time to read all of that. But he gives himself credit on a whole bunch of nonsense or whatever, blah, blah, blah. He works hard, his hours are the longest and all that. He stopped 8 wars or 80 or 800 wars or whatever. And then he says, I go out of my way to do long, thorough, and very boring capital M medical examinations at the great Walter Reed, seen and supervised by top doctors, all of whom have given me perfect marks, A++++. Some have even said they've never seen such capital S strong results. I do these tests because I owe it to our country. In addition to the medical, I have done something that no other president has done on 3 separate occasions. The last one being recently, by taking what is known as a cognitive examination. That is not what it's known as. It's a dementia test. And maybe the reason other presidents haven't taken 3 of them in quick succession is that they didn't need to, because their brains are decaying in their skulls. But anyway, he says nobody else would be able to do this test. Nobody else. It literally is a test that you only get anything wrong if your brain is decaying, if you have Alzheimer's, dementia, stuff like that. It's a diagnostic test. He claims nobody else could do this test. Okay, so anyway, he says he aces it. Nobody else would do well. Other presidents, they haven't taken it because they're too scared to take it. Okay, by the way, he has never actually released the results of these tests. Do you recall that? He talks about it constantly. We talk about it constantly. We've never actually seen how he did. We're just taking for granted that he passed it because he claims that he has. But he hasn't released any of his medical records up to and including this. So then importantly, he goes on, blah, 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 blah. He keeps talking about this thing that definitely isn't bothering him. As more and more reporting is coming out that he's doing like 40% less public appearances. He's taking meetings for less hours per day. All of this indisputable evidence that he's slowing down. He then says, I actually believe it's seditious, perhaps even treasonous for the New York Times and others to consistently do fake reports in order to libel and demean the president of the United States. They are true enemies of the people, and we should do something about it. So now evidently it is treason to say that his body is crap. Well, lock me up, Trumpy, because your body's crap and it's getting worse every day. And you probably couldn't stay awake during this segment. So wake up, piggy. I'm insulting you here. How dare you fall asleep during that? But he is. He does fall asleep all the time, Sharon, and it clearly is getting to him. What do you think?
I had an argument with my Republican friend about this the other day, who was like, well, he's not really sleeping, because he claimed he has a smirk on his face. He can tell that he's really playing with the press. He said Trump's leaning into this, pretending to sleep. I said, no, he falls asleep, okay? Like a lot of old guys with stuff on their minds do. And that's not saying anything about people getting older. It's gonna happen to all of us, and you're not gonna beat Father Time. But the fact is, he said all of these things about Joe Biden and a lot of other people. He named him Sleepy Joe, low energy Jeb. I mean, this is his favorite go-to, so now we can talk about it. And the fact that whenever you bring it up, he calls you piggy or dummy, okay? Has he called anyone fatso? I don't know about that. But he demeans people. We can talk about what we see too. You're asleep. You were passing gas during that one trial in New York. There were wild reports of you had enormous flatulence. And we can talk about these things too, since that's what he wants to do. It's true. Can you imagine having to sit next to that? Really?
Yeah. I don't think he's farting anymore. I think he's been plugged up, but I think the gas is starting to accumulate in his ankles. I think that's what's ballooning them a little bit. But anyway, yeah, no. The idea that he's pretending to fall asleep to mess with the media, then why is he freaking out, both on social media and also behind closed doors about this reporting? That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, this has been happening for a while. We'll play the videos another time. We unfortunately don't have time right now, but throughout literally this week, he's been falling asleep. It's an increasing problem. Okay, with that said, let's end with one more quick story. Donald Trump's meme coin, like many meme coins, has been a colossal failure for most people who chose to buy it. Don't worry about the people who set it up. It was designed in a way that they will make their money right off the bat. It's just the suckers they get to buy it that end up getting screwed. But the guy who's currently managing it wants to make something out of it post-crash. So he's got this idea. He's set up the Trump Billionaires Club game in the hopes of reviving this particular scam. And here's the trailer for it.
Coming soon. Trump Billionaires Club. The biggest mobile game to hit the App Store. 1 million in prizes.
You want to be a billionaire? Then you need to think like one.
Make every move count. Master the art of negotiation. Invest smart. Win big. Scale your business empire. And above all, win. So, what's the move? Ready to join the Billionaires Club?
Okay, so I love every bit of that. I love them challenging you to join the Billionaires Club by fighting for a small cut of $1 million. How's that gonna get you to the billionaires? You know that's 1,000 times too small for the claims that you're making. No, I love every bit of it. I love the B-roll of the guy who's like reluctantly playing as he sighs. Like, is that the only B-roll you could find? I love that to entice people to use this cryptocurrency, they've got dollar bills raining down, like real money. They're like, hey, don't you want some real money? Buy our crypto. That's weird. But my favorite part is this. Can we just show this? Can they produce one image of Donald Trump that I'm not even saying it has to look like he does now, but could it at least look like he ever looked? Can you see the bulging biceps on that thing? The dude has literally never exercised. He's certainly never been in a gym, but they have to imply that he's got Dwayne Johnson's biceps for some reason. And not just in the trailer, the thumbnail for the thing, if you take a look at this, it mostly looks like him, but again, his suit jacket is about to rip from his 24-inch pythons there. That's not what he looks like, you creepy crypto weirdos. Anyway, I don't think this is gonna really work for them. The meme coin lost, I think, 87% of its value. It had a nearly $9 billion market cap when it launched. It lost 7.6 billion of that. So great investment as always. I missed out. This is like me not getting a Bored Ape all over again. But anyway, if this works at all, it will work to separate the people who download the app, Sharon, from their money once again. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a catfish. The picture, it's a financial catfish, a regular catfish, however you want to slice and dice it. It's a scam. My opinion. It's just to take people's money again. I mean, you'd be better off investing in Chia Pet or something. Chia Pet probably earned a lot of money for some people. It probably did. Those were cute. You spread the seeds, remember that paste, and then you watch it grow, and it's in all kinds of shapes. There's even one in Donald Trump's head. But this is a financial catfish. There is. And if you wish to, be a little lighter in the wallet, then go for it.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. I don't understand the crypto part
Come
of it.
on.
Just he could actually work out if he cared about looking like that. He could get trainers. He could just hire a bunch of like really attractive young women to train with him. He could hunt down some doppelgangers of Ivanka to like prance around in yoga clothes or whatever. Like this is how little he cares about looking the way MAGA desperately wants to believe he looks. It's so weird. Anyway, that is all the time we have for weirdness, both of the crypto and the physical variety. Sharon, as always, it was a pleasure to have you here. Thank you.
Great to have you back, and thanks for having me.
Thank you. Always glad to have you here. Thank you, as always, for filling in. Tomorrow, Waz is going to be the program. Should be a lot of fun. We haven't talked in a while. We're going to catch up, so hopefully all of you will be there. For now, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.